Hey everybody, welcome to Wacky Wednesday number 115 on the Leek. I'm John as always, and it's time for the traditional Chaos Draft Recap. Every single F&M before a pre-release, my local store does a Chaos Draft. We throw in packs of every set that we have available, which is generally Return to Ravnica to the latest set, and we draft them all together. Now, I was so excited to jump on into this draft that I totally forgot to hit record on the camera, so we will join this draft just after pick one. So here's my pick one sitting on the table. What is it? It's an ankle shanker because I had Khans of Tarkir as my first pack. So this is actually my second pack here that was just passed to me. My other two packs, as you can kind of see just off frame there, is Journey into Nyx and Born of the Gods. So I get past a pack of Gate Crash. We've got a Pit Fight there, an Executioner's Swing, which I push to the front because I'm already thinking Mardu. And I find in a Chaos Draft, it's pretty good to stay married to your first pick unless you're getting massively clear signals, because things get so wonky and so weird that it's really good to just stick to a plan. But then I remember Executioner's Swing is only attacking creatures, and that's not great. And if I'm going to go three colors, which I don't try to do too often, I try to stick to two colors in these drafts, I should take some fixing, and so I do. And I take that not snap at all, but I take that second pick, Boros Guildgate. Coming up next is a pack of M15, a set that I didn't draft too much of because it sucked. Triplicate Spirits ran over that format. I push a Midnight Guard to the front. I read about Pillar of Light, but it's a bit too conditional for me. And then I see Flesh to Dust, a card that I don't remember. I really don't remember it. 3 black for an instant speed, kill whatever I want. Seems really good. We've got a Staff, we've got a Frenzied Goblin, but nothing is really competing with just flat out unconditional instant speed removal. So I stare at it, trying to remember ever playing it, and put it into the deck. Up next is a pack of Innistrad. We've got a Pyrohound there on the front, which I think about, and then there's an Olivia's Bloodsworn, and if I want to be kind of the ankle shanker aggressive Mardu, then Olivia's Bloodsworn seems quite nice. You can't block with it, but it's a 2/1 flyer for 2. There's a Bloodmad Vampire here, which I also think about because that's a nice aggressive creature, but man, dies to so much, and there is an awful lot of removal going across all of these sets. So I kind of keep the Olivia's Bloodsworn there on the front. I think about the Tormenting Voice a little bit, actually, but just nothing beats a 2/1 flyer that can potentially be hasty for 3, so in it goes. Well, what's better than one pack of Shadows? How about a second pack of Shadows with Doppelgeist on top and a rare flip card? And I realized at this point that I forgot to tell everybody who opens a Shadows or Eldritch Moon pack to announce their flip card. Had I have done that, I would have heard the words Arlen Cord. But yeah, there's a Doppelgeist, there's a Ghoul Steed. Take a look at my cards, try to figure out which would I prefer, the Ghoul Steed or the Doppelgeist. There is the Wildfield Scarecrow, which would help with my fixing a little bit as well, but feels a little bit slow for what I want to be doing in Mardu. I want to kind of just pick up, as slow as they would be, gates and whatnot. But yeah, I take that Doppelgeist. Not sure if I'll ever dig into Delirium, but it's another flyer, which can be nice. Next pack is here, and it's a pack of Fate Reforged, and a bad pack of Fate Reforged at that. I push Dragonbell Monk to the front, and I take a look through, and man, there's nothing here. There's an Aven Surveyor, which is really good. And there's an Abzan Kin Guide, which is fine, but not great. The only thing really for me, if I am sticking to this Mardu plan, is the Dragonbell Monk, so I do take that. Next pack is going to be here already, and it's another pack of Gate Crash, and in this one, we've got ourselves Basilica Guards, which I love, and Kingpin Pet, which I like even more. So I have a somewhat big tendency to go Black-White Extort anytime that there's a Gate Crash pack or two in a Chaos Draft, because Extort is so good. Unfortunately, I have to decide between the Basilica Guards or the Kingpin's Pet, and the Kingpin's Pet is just better because it's going to fit into my sort of aggressive Mardu plan more than a 1/4 Defender would. Next pack, and we're back to Khans. We've got a Warden of the First Eye on top. I'm certainly not Jeskai. We've got a Sage Eye Harrier that I push to the front. Morphs are always fine. Mardu Warshrieker goes precisely into my plan of being Mardu and aggressive and flooding the board with creatures, and so I grab it. Slightly better than the Sage Eye Harrier. Time for another pack of Gate Crash, and we've got a Pit Fight there on top, a Daring Skyjack. I read Pit Fight again, and I say, wait, this is just a straight-up fight card for 1 and a red. That seems really good to me. I don't have to be playing green to play it, and so it goes into the deck. Next pack brings us back to M15, and we've got a Necromancer's Assistant, Pillar of Light. I push the Kurd Chieftain to the front, but I'm not going to be playing Forests. So Pillar of Light really seems kind of like the best really sort of sideboard card for me. I'm not going to main deck it, but I'll pop it in. Shadows pack number 1 arrives back, and we've got an Emissary of the Sleepless, Malevolent Whispers, and the Tormenting Voice again. I really think about the Malevolent Whispers for a bit, and I'm not sure I'll play any of these cards. Emissary is really expensive and a bit more defensive than I want to be, as much as I do kind of want flyers to fly over everything. I got another pack there waiting for me, so I slam the Emissary and pick up the second pack of Shadows. For anybody keeping count, there were 7 people in our pod because we had 14 people show up, so we did 2 pods of 7. This pack has an Apothecary Geist, which I'm very happy to see. I will certainly play that, gain some life. And then I get a pack of nothing. I get Enhanced Awareness, Ethereal Ambush, and that counterspell. So I take the gold card because, I don't know, none of those were playable. Next pack, we're down to a Way of the Thief or an Island. Way of the Thief for the Island. I take the Way of the Thief. I'm not going to take the Island. And then the last pick should be here pretty darn quickly. I would hope it shouldn't be that hard of a decision between some stuff. There we go. It's a mountain. Woo! Next pack is up, and I decide to go with Born of the Gods. We'll leave Journey into Nyx for the last one. Get out my gold token, flip to the back, and there's Tromokratus. I am certainly not in blue, but there's a Vanguard of Bramaz, which is really decent. 2 mana for a 2/2 with Vigilance, and whenever you target it with a spell, you get a 1/1 Vigilance. There's also an Oresco's Sun Guide, which I quite like as well, but I think that might wheel. Vanguard of Bramaz might not. I read Tromokratus. I think about, is it too late to do Tromokratus? And just in case I come up against it later in the draft, but no. It's too late for me. Too late to go that deep into blue, especially when I've been passing so much blue to my left. So it's really between Vanguard or Oresco Sun Guide, and I just think the Vanguard's more powerful, so I take it. Even though Heroic is a little bit harder to enable in a Chaos draft. You play way fewer combat tricks than you did in Theros. Next pack is here. It's Return to Ravnica. I push a Launch Party to the front. There's an Azorius Arrestor. There's Explosive Impact. But hey, there's also an Ultimate Price. And Ultimate Price is just basically unconditional removal for 2 mana, or at least against the majority of the board, so that's a snap pick. Next pack shows up, and it is Theros. There's a Reaper of the Wilds, which is super good. Kind of makes me want to go into green. We've got a Fanatic of Mogus, which was really good in Theros, and really good if you're heavy red on the board, which I'm currently not. I take a look at Dragon Mantle, because something flipped in my head and said, wait a minute, Dragon Mantle looks bad, but I remember it being good. And then I tried to rack my brain on why was it good. It was good because it was just so cheap and replaced itself. It wasn't amazing. You wouldn't play it, as your 17th card, but you'd still play it a fair bit in Theros, which is surprising because you probably wouldn't play it in a lot of other sets. But Fnatic is just kind of sticking out there at the top. Maybe I do end up into, more red than I'm expecting. So I do take it without super plans on going deep into it. Next pack shows up, and it is a pack of Fate Reforged. We've got a Scoured Barons on the front. We've got a Merciless Executioner, which I push in behind the Scoured Barons, along with a Goblin Heel Cutter. I would love the Executor. I would love the Heel Cutter, but fixing is something you really need. So I take that, pass those, hope to see one of them back, but not sure if they'll make it back to me. Up next, we've got ourselves a pack of Gatecrash. There are 3 packs of Gatecrash at this table. Contaminated Ground is going to hang out at the front, not because it's good, but because it's all there is in this pack. All there is at all. I reread Furious Resistance, push it to the front, and then reread it again and see the word blocking and say, oh, that is just utterly not what red wants to do with its combat tricks. Target blocking creature gets +3/+0 in first strike. That's a white card. I reread Hold the Gates. Contaminated Ground is just, it's looking like the best card in this pack, and I don't even think I'm going to play it. It's not great, although I did play against an obnoxious deck that played a whole bunch of those, plus the Enchantment Matters cards way back in that standard. I take it. No plans on playing it. Next pack, we've got ourselves some Battle for Zendikar, a set that has a whole lot of parasitic mechanics. Kozilek Sentinel is going to go up to the front, even though I don't know that I'm ever going to cast any colorless spells. There's a Clutch of Currents, which would be really nice if I was blue. I reread Bloodbond Vampire, but I don't plan on gaining that much life. Stonehaven Medic is kind of a cool combo with the Vampire, but I'm not going to be able to pull both of those cards out of this pack. So Kozilek Sentinel is just kind of going to stay at the front as a 2-mana 1/4 that I might main deck. Otherwise, I could bring out of the board if I'm too slow. This pack has a Renegade map, which I push right to the front, along with a Welder Automaton and a Chandra's Revolution. And again, we're faced with one of these packs where there's 2 cards I'd love to have. I'd love to have the Revolution. I'd love to have the Welder Automaton. But I need that map. I need to make sure I have all 3 of my colors. So map goes in the pile. Next pack, Oresco's Sun Guide came back to me. That is beautiful, and it goes into the pile. Next pack, we've got Goblin Electromancer, Mind Rot, I guess, Catacomb Slug, Axebane Stag. Mind Rot's really the only card that maybe I would play, and again, I just would not main deck, so in it goes, but we're getting to the dregs of the packs now. Theros coming back. We've got ourselves nothing. We've got a Yolk-Dox, March of the Returned, Boon of Erebos. Boon of Erebos was always kind of okay, basically because it was 1 mana. So I take it. I might main deck it. We'll see if I have a spot for a combat trick or not. Back to that mediocre Fate Reforged pack. There's a Smoldering Efreet and an Abzan Advantage left in it. Abzan Advantage is just not something I'm going to play. I guess there's a Fearsome Awakening back there as well. Smoldering Efreet's really the only thing that fits my deck, and I'm still not going to go out of my way to actually play it. Continuing through the dregs, we've got ourselves this pack of Gatecrash. There's a Dutiful Thrall, which, you know, I'm not going to main deck it, but again, if I'm up against aggro and I'm a little bit slower, I might want to play it and just kind of gum up the ground because, you know, 1 mana to regenerate it kind of makes an infinite blocker in the later game. This pack of Zendikar comes back. I take the Inspiring Charge. I'm not going to actually play it. Alley Evasion, easy pick over an island, and then a Plains. Alright, time to open up this Journey into Nyx pack. See what we get. We get a Harness by Force. That's in my color and not a card that I'm going to play. There's Golden Hind, which just reflexively I look at because I used to first pick those all the time. I push the Swift Claw to the front, Aspect of the Gorgons there. Riddle of Lightning is interesting removal. It's very interesting. You choose a creature and then you scry 3 and then you flip the top card and you deal CMC to that creature. So you know it's really good for killing like 2 toughness creatures, maybe 3 toughness, because you can often hit those CMCs. Anything higher is a little bit much. I do take it because I do want some more removal. I want to be sort of, you know, I'm leaning a little bit towards like Mardu mid-range flyers as opposed to Mardu aggro. So Riddle of Lightning, in you go. Tandem Tactics is interesting. We've got a Demon's Grasp, which is real good, but there's just a complete disregard, which is 3 mana, instant speed, not conditional, or not unconditional at all, but really good removal. There's a Hero of Gomafada, which was really good in Battle for Zendikar. Snap first pick in Battle for Zendikar. I'm probably not going to have another ally, so it's really not as good. So I do just take that complete disregard. Next pack is a set I hate more than Aether Revolt, Magic Origins. I push Touch of Moonglove to the front, looking through the rest of the pack, not seeing much of, a Blessed Spirits. It's a 3 mana 2/2 flyer. Am I going to play a whole bunch of enchantments to power it up? Probably not, but it's a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, and along with my Apothecary Geist and my Topplegeist and etc., I'm feeling like flyers might be the way that I win with this deck. Next up, we've got a pack of Dragon's Maze. This is one of my first Chaos drafts where I didn't have a pack of Dragon's Maze for my own, so that's good. I pushed the Maze Sentinel to the front, the foil Maze Sentinel. Find an Orzhov Cluestone back there. Boy, I don't want to play Cluestones, but it is another piece of fixing. I read Maze Sentinel to remember again what it does. I think I was confusing it with the Sentinel from Origins, which was significantly better. So I do just take that Cluestone, and I will probably begrudgingly play it. Time for some more Born of the Gods. We've got an Elite Skirmisher, Chorus of the Tides, Elite Skirmisher goes to the front, Oresco's Sun Guide is there as well. I really had to reread Elite Skirmisher. I remember it being great, but I also remember, of course, you would build around Heroic, and I'm certainly not building around Heroic. Flipping through the rest of the pack, there's a Shrike Harpy at the back. Now, Shrike Harpy is just going to be good all the time. I'm going to get a 2/2 flyer and make my opponent sack a creature, or I'm going to get a 4/4 flyer, and both of those sound good. So in it goes. Alright, getting near the end here, we're into Kaladesh. Good old Kaladesh. We've got a Destructive Tampering on top, a Universal Solvent, which I kind of think about, but no, it's just so bad. There's a Decommission there that I think maybe about side decking, but, you know, we're not going to be facing trains in every single deck like normal, so I just take that Destructive Tampering. And I realized I said Kaladesh. This is Kaladesh. That was Aether Revolt. I push a Knightsbridge Patrol to the front because it's the only playable card for me in the pack. There is a Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot that I think about, but I'm probably not going to play a Metal Spinners Puzzle Knot. And then I see the Sky Swirl Harrier that I somehow ignored, and that goes in the deck for sure. Flyers. My deck really seems to be Mardu Flyers. My journey into Nick's pack comes back, and Golden Hind's still there, which is surprising. It's a really good card. I push the Harvest Guard Islids, I can never say that word, to the front because it's really the only playable card for me. There's a Returned Reveler, which is just bad, so in go the Harvest Guard. For Zendikar comes on back. We've got Undo Rising, we've got Tandem Tactics, and that's really about it for me. There's a foil, not Seachrome Coast, Sky something Cliffs. We've got a Tandem Tactics seems fine. It's a nice little combat trick. It's a nice little surprise on attack. It's a nice surprise on defense, especially if I'm tapping my creatures and attacking. I can block as well, so in the deck it goes. It also enables Heroic. Here we've got an Akroan Jailer and nothing. I could take a Mountain, but I'm not, so I take that Akroan Jailer. Time for good old Dragon Maze to be back. We've got a Bane Alley Backguard and the foil Maze Sentinel. Neither of these are going to be played. The foil's slightly more cool, so I take it, but we're at the unplayable parts of the packs now, such as this unplayable Elite Skirmisher is surprisingly okay. Mortal's Ardor is fine. It could trigger my Heroic, but I'll just take the creature instead. Last couple of picks, we're back to Aether Revolt, not Kaladesh. I take the Aether Herder because nobody's going to play a Dispersal Technician, and then I await the Kaladesh pack. The Kaladesh pack has Kajuru Seed Sculptor, which is honestly surprising to see going this late. I believe there was one green drafter at the entire table, so I could have definitely jumped into green, although they were heavy into green because they opened a Mythic Garrick, and I take the Swamp Blast pick. So that's how the draft portion went. I always super enjoy these. It's fun to go back to the old cards and find synergies that never existed in their own draft formats. But let's take a look at what we ended up with for our deck. Up first in the 1-drop slot, we had good old Boopgeist. Topplegeist is just a 1/1 flyer that can tap something down, which can help my ground guys get in. I didn't really have a great way of enabling Delirium, although Renegade Map helped me get a little bit closer. I don't believe I was actually playing any sorceries, which was kind of a problem for getting Delirium online, but, still a 1/1 flyer that taps things down at least once. And Renegade Map, of course, to get whatever lands I needed, because I was playing a little slightly sketchy of a mana base. The 2-drop slot was a bit beefier. We had a Kozilek Sentinel, which I was really only playing because there was a fair bit of aggro at the table that I'll talk about in a little bit. Olivia's Bloodsworn, just nice and aggressive. Oresco's Sun Guide, ditto, and gains a whole bunch of life if I'm attacking with it. Vanguard of Brimaz, ditto. Pit Fight is just solid removal. I often had to trade something using it, but still instant speed fight cards, real nice. Ultimate Price, of course, fantastic card. Saw play in Standard. I think it even sees play in Modern a little bit. Tandem Tactics, again, triggering Heroic off of Vanguard and etc., gaining me 2 life, surprise blockers, etc. Solid 2-drops. The 3-drop slot was equally pretty solid, although Elite Skirmisher and Dragon Bell Monk were kind of meh, although Dragon Bell Monk having Vigilance is nice. Blessed Spirits, like I said, I wasn't playing any enchantment, so all it was a 2/2 flyer for 3, which is still fine. Speaking of 2/2 flyers for 3, we've got Kingpin's Pet in there. Boy, Extort is so good, even when you only have one trigger of it. In the 3-drop spell slot, I had a Destructive Tampering for any artifacts that I ran up against, like Smuggler's Copter, or to just get my creatures through. Orzhov Cluestone I did begrudgingly play just to help my mana a little bit, and Complete Disregard for removal. 4-drop slot, we saw the Apothecary Geist, which flyer, gains me some life, totally fine, and Mardu Warshrieker, which, maybe lets me help flood the board. If I attack with a creature, maybe one of my little flyers, get to play this, get 3 of the mana back, play another 3-drop or a 2-drop or whatever. Very good value there. The 5-drop slot was a little bit heavy. There was a fair bit here. There was Sky Swirl Harrier, which was just again another flyer and probably one of my best blockers. The Shrike Harpy for the value, the Ankle Shanker for the surprise attack you're going to have to just throw away most of your board plan, which worked out. Flesh to Dust for removal, and Riddle of Lightning for much more random removal. And finally, in the lands, we had the Scoured Barrens and the Boros Guildgate to help my mana base a little bit. So that's what the deck looks like overall. How did it fare? Well, round one, I was hoping for the bye because we had 7 people. I did not get the bye. I was up against Dan, who was playing red-black, although primarily red. He said he had like 4 cards that were black in the deck. Vampires, etc. Match 1, he came out super strong with a turn 3 Blood Mad Vampire, and I just couldn't get blocks or removal for it. It very quickly, with Stensia Masquerade, became 6-something and then like an 8-something, and that was the end of that game pretty darn quick. Game 2, he had to mull down to 4. He had a 2-lander that had nothing to do in it. It is 7, and then just went no lander, no lander, no lander. Kept the 4, drew an amazing ratio of gas and spells, held into that game for quite a long time for a mull to 4, but eventually did fall. And then finally the last game he flooded out a lot, and my flyers got there. Match 2, I was up against Step, who did get the bye in round 1, and it felt like an MTGO league because he was playing red-black aggro, just like my previous opponent. His was a little bit more split between red and black, as opposed to just being a couple of black cards, but again, he had hoped to go heavy into vampires and aggressive stuff like that, but my flyers were just way, way too much for him. He did get a game off me, so I won in 3, but flyers, they're real good. Finally, match 3 was something different. It was up against Garrett, the only other 2-0 at the table, and he was playing mono blue. Not a single non-blue card in there. He was playing Cloudfin Raptors and things with big butts to make his Cloudfin Raptors big, and a ton of counter spells. He was even playing Countermand in the bad ones. He had Clash of Wills in there, a bunch of bounce, just a real control-y deck. Game 1, I came out relatively fast and was just, frankly, way too much for him. My flyers just flew over the ground creatures that he had, and I took that game down easily. Game 2, he got a Smuggler's Copter on turn 3, and, well, I died quickly to massive card advantage and 3/3 flyer in the air. Game 3 went significantly longer. I'm talking like had to have been at least 15 turns. We were kind of stalled out a little bit, but I did eventually get my Kingpin's Pet. And he couldn't really attack, or he would lose stuff, or simply just lose to a crackback. And I just turn after turn, play a spell, extort. Play a spell, extort. He would counter it, but of course extort is on cast, so he couldn't stop the extort from happening. And yeah, I eventually just extorted him out for probably like 15 points of damage over the entire game, putting me at 3-0 for the night. I 3-0'd with this janky, greedy mana-based Mardu something or other flyers deck. Very fun. If you've never chaos drafted, I strongly recommend it. Get some friends together and buy a bunch of packs. See if your store will run one. They are super fun. Even more fun if you can get your hands on older packs. But of course, once you get kind of past Return to Ravnica, the packs start to go up in price quite a bit, but still super fun. Definitely try it out. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this chaos draft. Have you chaos drafted before? What were your experiences? What packs did you use, etc. As always, if you like the content, click that thumbs up icon to let me know. It doesn't just make me feel good, it actually helps spread my videos out to people who don't know who I am, so it really helps with that. Click subscribe if you want to see more, if you have not already, and if you do have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at @themanaleek. That's Leek, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at facebook.com/themanaleek, twitch.tv/themanaleek, and I already said that, patreon.com/themanaleek, where you can become a backer, work your way towards earning a playmat, etc. As always, if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you all next time.